and get really one good mentor that is not a mentor, like professional that wants money or whatever. A mentor that knows the business, that is not doing it for money, is doing it because he believes in helping people, because he was in that situation in the past and he's doing it to help, because this can be priceless. The advice you can get the first 3-4 employees are critical, almost like founders.
Today, I have the founder and CEO of CrazyLabs, Sagi Schliesser, third mobile game published in the world with more than 7 billion downloads, almost 15 years in the industry. He's a family man, he's an IT man, more than a decade of industry experience. Sagi, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Let's start with your background because you are in the industry, like IT industry, for a very long time with CrazyLabs, more than 15 years. How did you start your career?
I started my career in a startup, a small startup doing a B2B, but that was really a long time ago. But two big parts of my career have been in insurtech. I spent 14 years in insurtech, huge projects, B2B, working for years to sell, then years to implement. I worked for and we developed one of the products that is the biggest product for property and casualty insurance in Europe. And then I did almost 14, 15 years in gaming. And these are completely different types of industries, different types of sales. I said to myself, I don't want to do any more B2Bs and 2-year cycles. I want to work with users, consumers, and I want to know much faster if it works or it doesn't work. So gaming for me was the answer.
What year was that when you decided to stop doing B2B and move to consumer?
So actually, it was phased. I decided that around 2009, 2008, and then it took 2 years almost to make the switch in parallel. So the interesting story is that I created back then the name was TabTale. We started the company as TabTale. So I created TabTale in parallel to continuing being the GM, CTO, and VP R&D for Sapiens, which is a Nasdaq traded company for insurance. And it was like a journey, very complex journey, very tiring of 2 years of trying to do both. And then I decided that my interest and my passion is consumers, and I made the leap into 100% in back then TabTale in CrazyLabs.
Well, you could choose anything else which is consumer related. How come you ended up in gaming then?
In my eyes, and again, very idiosyncratic to me, it's the best business work in the world. You deal with all aspects of consumers. One, their psyche, who they are, why they come to your game, what experience do you want to provide them, and then delivering that experience involves psychology and gameplay and art and music and animation, and you get to deal with all of that. So your world is full of all things technical, analytics, because everything is data driven, and also creative, because there are some things that are beyond data, that the data just gives you a hint of what you need to look for. So I'm a kind of right brain, left brain person, so I like the combination of both. That was what I was looking for a lot in my career, and this is the best place to be when you want to combine kind of both. So in my university, I learned psychology and computer science and statistics and human behavior and UX. So for me, it's like the best combination that can be around business career.
Well, after all, we try to entertain the world, right? Like it's not like our job. I mean, I don't make games. Speaking for the entire games industry right now, is not like making people sad or when you make a horror movie, the goal is to make people scared. That's That's the goal, right? But our
Yeah,
job is to make people excited, have fun, entertain. So I understand where you're coming from. So there's this brand change. We'll come to that. But how did you came up with the name TabTale?
creating names for startup is harder than you can imagine because all names in the beginning sound great and stupid in the same time. It's only in the test of time, it's like good things, you know them when they are good, and then you can say backwards. So actually we thought about many different names. They were all, I think, bad. I don't even remember them. But then someone from the team said, because in the beginning we wanted to do a lot around stories, interactive stories. And our focus, because phones were really small, were around tablets. So he said tails and tablets, tab tail, sounds
Okay.
logical, and then it caught.
I mean, finding the names are difficult anyway, but back then there were more empty domains or uh, free combinations, let's say. So I understand. We'll come to the change to CrazyLabs. So almost 15 years, right, in the
Yes.
industry. I mean, that's already a big job running the studio for that long time. Almost like up to 300 people globally. There's even one hub and a lot of people in Istanbul. But for all those years, can you tell me some pivotal moments that you're like, okay, either you were thinking to stop or you said, okay, this is it.
I'm not a, my problem is, I think I'm not a stop guy. So we hit the wall, where is the window? The window is closed, where is the roof? Um, I'm an ever optimistic around what you can learn from falling. And by the way, I think I didn't invent it. Everyone, you need to, you read it everywhere. It's the 10,000 rule or whatever, that you need to fail. You need to throw 10,000 times until you become good. So I'm a great believer in that. So I think we had many, many, many challenges, including successes that turned into less than we thought, that got blocked. Our industry is so dynamic. The users changed so much between 2009, 10 when we started. Then they were first generation users of a touch phone and app store, and they became pros in that. So it completely changed the way they interact. Regulation changed, the infrastructure changed, the store changed. So, and everything changes relatively fast, much faster than other domains that I know. And so it creates a lot of challenges. So if you are not, there is a speech I do. I talk to the employees every 3 months in a kind of session with everyone. And also when I go and I try to visit every site every quarter or half a year, again depending on the opportunity. uh, we are not an organization for someone who wants a lot of stability of structure. There are people who work with us for a very long time. We are very stable with that regard. Like you said, we are 15 years around. It's a long time in gaming, but we keep on changing. We see ourselves like, someone that needs to move. If you want to be good, we think all the time, not uh, uh, when we need to move. We keep actively thinking about what we need to change. So yeah, it brought a lot of thoughts around all the time, what we need to be better, what we need to change, where the market is moving, what is the fast forward. And a lot of activities we did were just not successful because we thought, yes, that this will be successful, certain tablets, maybe VR, maybe AR, maybe many, many things, and you fail many, many more times than you succeed. So, but this is the ratio in our industry. You need to fail so much that every success is golden.
You're right. Few of them should work good enough to keep you going. Well, speaking of keeping it going, it says on LinkedIn you're the founder. How is the difficulties of running the studio as a founder? Maybe there was a co-founder at some point, or how is the situation?
Yeah, it's so I I I, I created CrazyLabs, but I was also part of other startups, and also made investment in startups. So So for my personal journey, I think that one founding power is really important. The type of energy and power and resilience that the founder brings, it's a little bit, and it's again, it's not the direct correlation like parents bring to a family, because they are relentless. They need to succeed. They get hit there. They continue. There is for them there is almost no choice. In startup, you have a choice, but you need to be very relentless. So I think it's better to do in more than one. I did it in more than one, but the like in real life, I hear about many stories of divorce. We also had founder divorce. You have misalignment of interest, and by the way, it's harder when you start succeeding than when you fail. When you fail, it just tests your resilience. By the way, maybe there are breakups there as well, but it sounds strange, but it's easier to fail together and not succeed than take it out, then to succeed and then continue with the challenges, because I think success make you think that you are smarter, special. You lose some of the humbleness, and then big breakups can become because everyone thinks that he made the success happens or not. So it really depends, and it really depends on who co-founded with, how much, how long, how well you know them. I know a lot of friends that stop being friends after founding companies. It's a huge challenge. I think it's better in multiple, more than one. You know, the obvious downside is that you share the shares, but you have to share it with someone. It takes he she they take a lot of the responsibility, which is priceless, because it's really hard to be a founder. I'm very lucky that today I have someone who is also a friend, but is the best co-founder that I can wish for. Guy that like a good co-founder, better than you, smarter than you, and so on. So all I have to do is just do the talks.
It's interesting that like with success, you say that ego comes to play, and then this breaks the partnership. Someone thinks it's a better, maybe they worked harder than you or something like that.
I'm not sure it's the harder. Look, so arbitrarily, when three partners they make a startup, they all become very important people, right? Because one is the CEO, one is the CTO, one is the CMO or something like that, because they all C-level immediately, even if before they were just whatever students. But at that point, they understand that it's meaningless. They go and raise maybe some money or do some things. Then what happens? If they meet some success, so if it's hard, then it's hard and hard, and they raise some people and they pay them and they lose and they lose and they go to the right, they go to the left. It keeps them together, but when success happens, you start saying, I'm successful. It's me. I know where I want to take it. And then I think two things happen. One, yeah, ego might come into place, or I know better how to make it successful. The other thing that we see in many companies is why. Now the question is why you are the CEO, because at the end there is one person, at the end taking the decisions in a good corporate structure. In the beginning, by the way, when it's a small startup, you all work together. It's like joined. The hierarchy means nothing. But if you have 30 people, you cannot make group decisions. It's catastrophe. So at the end, there needs to be some decision. If they are even in a cell structure where everyone is super smart and they contribute, at the end, someone needs to make some decision if there is any more than one opinion. And I think this is, at least from people I spoke to, and I spoke to a lot of founders, and I know a lot that had the same difficulty. You don't publish it as much because it's not something to write usually on your LinkedIn, but a lot came to the junction point where the other person who were VP or C level or whatever, he said, I want to become now the CEO because we are successful now, so now I want to take the lead and to move that. And I think this is also causing a lot of breakups. I think today there are many more people trying from the psychology part, organizational psychology, to understand the stress and the problems, and they're trying to help startups and founders create better communication. I think it's like, married life. It's all about communicate, constant communication. When you start talking, you will probably end up apart. That's
When did you have your first success or good hit? Because why I say or, when it comes to entrepreneurs, we might not consider ourselves as successful until we reach to some point. So actually, you think, I mean, 15 years, 7 billion downloads, obviously it's a success. But what do you think about yourself, and when did you have this like success moment for the first time?
so the story. We had relatively fast success, but so the story is like that. We created TabTale, 2010, 2011. It was really hard to raise money because VCs local here didn't believe that we can sell something to the consumers that obviously were not here in the US, in the UK, in other countries. So they told us all the time, make a platform. We are good here in building technologies, not in building consumer success for other countries that we don't necessarily understand the culture and so on. We thought about it. It was really smart people who said that, but at the end, I felt that, and I think it comes to your truth and why you built the company. What I wanted, because I was before, like I said, in the B2B, I didn't want to sell again to other companies and be dependent on them with the users. What I wanted is to see if I'm good or not with the users. So I said, okay, I thought about it. I want to directly reach the user. So, and let's try it. So we were able only to raise small amounts of money, and then we also I sold my apartment and half of it I put in the company because I believed in the in what's happening. And in the first year in 2011, the books thing didn't. We got downloads, we got users, but we monetized not really great. So in total, we raised around say $1 million together with a lot of money that I put. Some we recruited, some from different places, angels, and we lost everything. And that business didn't seem very good. We tried even in the middle to do some greeting cards and some educational. And then we saw that it's going to be hard to raise additional funds, although we had some offers, but it didn't feel right, the conditions and so on. So by the way, they joke with me still, the one of the founders that was back then. I decided that in 2012 we need to be profitable and to scale the business. And he said that he went to his wife after they had this meeting that we decided that, and they all laughed for a whole weekend. But I think in startups and in any business, there is this reality which is kind of weird to say. You need to put targets. Now, when you have an existing business and you say, okay, I'm going to grow 5%, 10%, then we can imagine why it's reasonable. The market grows 5%. You go. So for an existing company, for a 0 to 1 process like a startup, you need to believe in something and say, this is the goal, this is where we're going, and this is what's going to happen. And then maybe you fail in a grand way. But I saw it many times, especially when we didn't know what's going to happen next year, when we've put very specific, aggressive targets, we met them. It was like magic. So the first time it happened in 2012, after losing everything, being in really small scale in 2011, reaching the point where we almost had to close the company. In 2012, we decided to become profitable. Then what happened? We did things that were into monetization, into listening even better to the users. I can give you one example. We did too long gameplays or books or whatever. We put analytics. We saw that nobody reached the end. They went all the way only, let's say, to 2/3. So we made everything shorter. We put additional means to monetize. We became more focused on that. And in 2012, we were 10 times more in revenue. We were break even after recruiting a lot of people. In 2013, we jumped 7 times higher. We became highly profitable. And in 2000, early and the end of 2013, we became the #1 publisher for kids. In the first time, we became #1 of something in the App Store. And again, there were others that went there much before us. We already had tens of millions of downloads, and we started reaching significant success, both financially and from the consumer perspective. People were playing our games, were downloading them in mass, tens of millions. Things looked really great.
Well, 2012 first hit. But 2012 where you had your first success. I read it somewhere. I can't remember where, so I cannot give the credit. But as I read that Israeli founders do an early exit to like make themselves safe, and then on their second business they are going for billions. So I read something like that, which is very interesting, right? Because you secure yourself, and you are telling me that you sold your apartment and put it on the business. So that's not much a security. You
No.
said you had offers. Why didn't you sell back then?
Um, I think for founders it depends also. In my view, again, it's my timeline. So I also was involved in startup when I was much younger, in my 20s, late 20s. There, before kids, before family, I think you are much more, you're taking many more risks on one side. On the other side, you are open to try a lot more things. When I created TabTale, I was going into 38, 30, so into the 40s. You have some things you want to, you say, this is a startup where I want things to go the way I want them, because your notion is that you're not going to have 10 more startups. When you're 20 something, you say, okay, not this one, the next one, maybe the one after. So here I wanted everything to be just the way I felt right. I think, by the way, in hindsight, this is what I should have done in earlier startups. But I think there you say, okay, they're pressuring for that, and okay, if it will not work, then I still have, I can do it in the next one. Here, it's not that I felt that it's the last one, but I had more of this way, or I don't want to do it because I have a very specific standard of how. So the same, I didn't want to sell technology. I wanted to reach the users. The offers that we had didn't meet me in a place where I felt that this is meeting my expectations. So I said I'd rather push through. If it fails, it fails. I will manage. But I don't want to feel that it was like almost, or if maybe if I haven't done it. So I'm a person that usually goes all out, and I I know that I'm going to fail many times before the success. But when success comes, then you wish that it will be big enough. In our case, it worked really great. So this is, I
Yeah.
think, the main reason.
If you go back to day one today of TapTale, what would you tell yourself?
Uh, wow. Be careful of founders you go with. First employees, the first 3, 4 employees are critical, almost like founders. And get really good, one good mentor that is not a mentor, like professional that wants money or whatever. A mentor that knows the business, that is not doing it for money, is doing it because he believes in helping people, because he was in that situation in the past and he's doing it to help, because this can be priceless. The advice you can get, the help you can get from someone on every aspect, on scaling a business, on specifically on whatever, data driven business, many different things. Although part of our business, some of it was new or evolving, but smart people can really help you make less mistakes. So maybe move faster. So, by the way, I had some good advisors, but not enough. So I made much more mistakes than I would have wanted to. I think if I had a bit more mentorship, I could have moved faster and better. But
Well,
I,
next year is the Mobidictum's 10th year anniversary. So if I go back to day one, I would tell the same thing to myself. So anyone who's listening or watching right now, uh, definitely, it's not too late to get a mentor. What do you think of that? Can you still have a mentor at this point?
I think I have a better than a mentor because right now we are doing really good in our industry. So I have people to consult with. So I have a lot of people in good with good relationship. And like I said, I have a partner which completes me. So we spend a lot of time together. We talk a lot. We play together. We go to eat together. But we also talk about the business, and we are not afraid to take opposite positions, and we don't feel we need to be polite. So we are about talking about what can move the business, different scenarios, bad, and I think 99% of the discussion, I cannot say 100%, because every person, even an egoless person, is a little bit, but between us, I think mostly it's egoless, so it's just pure luck and good fortune having someone like that, and this in the way the where we are in the industry, so we know a lot of things. It's not that we cannot learn new things, but everyone now we are in a position that everything is an opinion. I mean, there are great companies, competitors, Voodoo and Rolik and Homa and Say Games and with EasyBrain as a sister company, we learned a lot from them, and so so you can learn from a lot of people you talk to in events or that that will tell you some things without risking competition, but I think at some point where you grow and you move forward, either you have a really great, I know, chairman or something, you might help you with financial or something like that. But one of the most important things now at our stage, I think, is this really good partnership or even further bigger management. This is the key to move forward.
Well, Israeli tech scene is, I mean, great. So many tech startups. But you mentioned that back then the consumer focus startups was not that famous. Then you have all the mobile gaming giants such as yourself now. But back then, when you were starting this as an early adopter for the consumer focus startup, did you have any other entrepreneur in the scene or in the world that you look up to?
I remember when we started, I tried desperately reaching Rovio. Rovio with Angry Birds was wow, it was amazing. So I tried reaching them, didn't manage to. Um, you went to events, you see, I don't know if you remember, there was the period of ketchup. Ketchup kind of made the big thing, they got sold. Then Voodoo climbed, and they were doing really great job as the one kind of building an industry that no one really knew how to penetrate in the beginning. So they led the way for many things. So I think in our industry we have great leaders and people who show the way. My biggest role model that I try to learn a lot. I just met him in a recent event. It's Ilka from Supercell. The way they operate, the way they build teams. It's amazing in my eyes. Very admirable. So. There are many people I look up to, and not all are in gaming. Tech people, there are some locals, people in Israel. So I think that a lot of the time I look up to see who is doing better than us, who I can learn from, and then try to analyze what can I learn. So and there's a lot to learn. So I learned a lot from our competitors and our partners as well. So it's a journey of ever evolving and improving.
If the gaming didn't work, what would you do? Still consumer related, but what would be the second option?
So I also really love the combination of mental health and applications. So my other kind of biggest time, by the way, CrazyLabs is an investor in there. It's a company called Kai AI that are like a well-being app that supplements the therapy. So it helps the therapy. So this is also something that I feel. So maybe if it wasn't gaming, maybe I would have done that earlier and faster. Now it's another team. But when they came to me, I felt like it's wow. If I didn't have my already company, I would have joined that ride. I really like it. Like I said, the combination left psychology, human need, and tech. and the combination of how to help people. And I guess that would have been my other venture or endeavor if I wouldn't have done gaming like I do.
And when did you decide to change the name and the branding? How did you come up with the name?
So it's another. It starts with the interesting story of. I told you just that we had an amazing hockey stick, and we just 2012 we jumped, 2013, 14, everything looks great, and even when you look at the when we looked and we analyzed, so we said, okay, what is the key driver? Parents are buying devices. After 1 2 years, the devices they buy new devices usually during Christmas, New Year's. The kids are getting the older devices, so we get more customers. We were in kids games. We became the number one publisher for kids games. We said, oh, it's golden. We just will climb and climb and climb. It will be great. And then two things happened that none of them we anticipated. In around 2015, in the beginning, end of 14, and early of 15, one regulation came into web regulation went into mobile, which is, by the way, it's we should have anticipated, but we didn't in the way that it happened. And also the stores really said, yeah, we are going to lock a lot of things on monetization, on ads, on a lot of things. We don't want to deal with angry parents, so let's close that. And another thing I think more bigger than that happened is the generation. So
Mm,
the 2012 users, they got their parents' first iPad or iPhone. The 2013, maybe the second, 13, 14, second generation. The 2015, they already had one before, and it was now their second, or they already played their parents' a phone for a while because it wasn't that much like a Magic anymore. So we saw kids that were playing actually the same games that their parents were playing. There was no more real category of kids games except specific, like either very young ages, the 2 to 4, and girl some more girl type games like dress up and so on for 4 to 8 year old, but the segmentation that was very clear before of that you can really give value to kids, the kids started doing other things. So we were left without such a huge audience. So the market became very capped. And and then we said, okay, what are we going to do? So maybe sell the company, maybe, but we said no, let's reinvent ourselves. And then we did the process, and we saw that we have two big segments. We have teenage girls, and we have a lot of culture around creating fast games, a lot of prototyping, and this drove us in one towards casual kind of female simulation game because we had also very strong female teams in the company that really loved creating dress up games and fashion games. So they felt that this is what they want to create. It's not that we tell them this is a place to look for success, but they wanted to do it. And we had the other part of we know how to run fast and do things in a fast way. So hyper back then it was even called, I think, super casual or something. So before hyper evolved, we started venturing into that. We only had part of the piece because it went into a lot of UA, a lot of other things. Uh, but then we had this dissonance break because we still had some kids games and we were moving to other directions. And we in hyper, you want great teams to work with, you want to do publishing. So we started understanding that if we send mixed signals, our marketing it will be problematic.
mm,
So we started looking for an additional. So in the beginning, we just created a sub brand that was called CrazyLabs. We really liked CrazyLabs. We like saying that we are crazy people because positively crazy people. I think they move the world. They have energy. They don't go just by rules for the sake of rules. They try to break some stuff, but let's say we are the good crazy people. They don't break things in a bad way, but in a positive way, trying to reinvent things. So this is how we saw ourselves as crazy people. So it began as a sub brand, but as we saw that dancing on these two, and we said kids is in our past, so let's put it in a hold pattern, and then we changed the name of the company and everything into CrazyLabs because this was our future, where we see the growth, where all of the company was working on new titles. So we moved everything, and it moved from a sub brand into being the key brand and what we do. So
The
this
sub
our
brand, the sub brand ate the main one and became
exactly
one today. It's like a cute icon. This
yes.
what's the verb?
Sorry.
The mascot. The mascot
Yeah,
is a
we call him Shrimpy.
shrimpy. Shrimpy. Okay, it's cute. Well, let's speak about the industry a little bit. I mean, tough times for mobile games industry, and for many, this is the new reality. I'm not sure if it will go better. Uh, I mean, how do you see it right now? Like, which challenges do you think it will be solved in short term or long term, or which ones are want?
I think the market is maturing. So, there are in MBA you learn about maturing markets. So it starts as a blue ocean, it becomes red and red and red, and this is what happens in our industry. So on one side, because there was so much success, there came a lot more supply, but the demand did not grow in the same pace. So we have now many more suppliers competing for the same demand, or maybe a little bit growing demand. It went down after COVID, but let's say in general, gaming still grows, but a lot more suppliers. I think you see it in also in console AAA. They are discussing that there's too much good games, but there's so much people will spend, and in mobile as well. And you see the evergreen. So people, I think in the past they used to think that a game like Candy Crush will do 5 years, 7 years, then a new game will come. You don't see that. You see these games become like huge games with a lot of smart things and content, and they become a sort of evergreen, doing better marketing, better campaign. You see playrix coming and reviving games that has that much of depth inside them. So it becomes harder and harder to eat a new piece of the pie. So it becomes that much harder to get. You need really to come up with a new thing, with something that would make people and by the way, then also you have a lot of, actually, if you look at Jelly Button, when they did the first raid system in social casino, and then you had Moon Active, and now you have many doing the same thing a little bit to the left or to the right. So every place becomes relatively crowded. Every time someone finds maybe something new to innovate, and then a lot of the market is going after that. You see that right now with hybrid creations. And by the way, you see people find a spot and a place, and I think this is the nice thing. So hyper, kind of the value proposition for hyper, again, it's still the same, I think, market size, but a lot of game already exists, so new becomes too small percentage. It cannot support all the companies that were doing that. So what we've done, most of the companies moved into this hybrid monetization, bigger games. It started off with just the notion. Everyone was talking about Archero and how can we do it. It was just, I think, like a unicorn magic. How do you do a highly marketable game, low CPIs, but they play for a long time? It sounds like okay. Yeah, I also want a rabbit from the hat. But then in our industry, you work hard and you work hard and you fail and you fail and you fail and you find a way and you find the reality. So in puzzle games, you can do it with the meta, and maybe you can take an old hyper game and add some meta, and it now acts like a hybrid kind of profile, which also not really well defined. So I think our industry is for the brave and for the market creators and the ones that follow really fast. So there are still probably great places um, to follow. Our belief that beside hybrid, the other area we are going after is female simulation. I think there, because of the fact that a lot of our industry is male run. So maybe if you look at the number of employees in total, I don't know if it's 50-50, male, female, maybe 60 male, 40 female. I don't know the exact numbers. But I think if you look at the executive levels, you see the numbers are changing. A lot more males are in prominent positions. And because gaming is a passion industry, so you do shooters, you see more shooters and more things. Even the things that women play are mostly then puzzles with some meta. If it's dress up meta on a match three, if it's so pure kind of games that appeal to core activities women do, like fashion, like decoration, and so on, is relatively small. It's not non-existing, but it's relatively small. We have one big success from the past, Super Stylist, that was nice but not big enough. It has, I don't remember the exact, 170 million downloads, maybe 200, but it's doing nice numbers, but it was very limited. We did it in 2017, so it had a lot of technical debt and so on. So, for example, we are now in the process of launching the second installment of a huge part of that called Glow. Almost all female star team. They really feel passionate about doing fashion game, and I think this is a place where, because if you at least you look at the market, uh, females are playing mobile more, they are spending more, and I think that when they will get even games that are more suitable for their kind of passions, then you can really tap onto that. So I think there is, you need to find your thing and try to go after it. And this is the two things that we are now going full force. Hybrid, that we started even before hybrid was, when it was a unicorn, and we still try to decipher what it means. Um, and female simulation, where we always felt that this is an untapped market that we can really deliver with with a good team that knows the players and what they want to play and so on. We will be able to deliver a really great game. So this is at least my view on where we can do good things, and probably there are places that I don't even have a good view into.
And the market is, as you said, maturing, and for new demands, I think the demographics has to change, like gender, age, geography, something like that, and then there will be more supply. Well, when is the 15th year anniversary?
Depends on where you want to count. I don't know how you, because we actually started working in this cafe, I think June 2010, but officially we created the company in December 2010. So, and, we even started talking about it before. So I'm less about celebrating this. I want to celebrate huge games. So time is just something that passes you by. It's a nice thing, but I think to me it's more important when we'll reach the top grossing game, which I hope that it will happen in 2025. More downloads, because we like the fact that we reach huge audience. 7 billion people is a huge amount. When we used to look at the download count, we used to see that we are about 1 to 1.5% of the total downloads per year. So it meant that, one out of every 80 people has one of our games on his phone, which is really kind of nice
Impressive.
to know. Yeah. But yeah, uh,
So what's coming for Crazy Labs on coming years then? If that's celebrating the years, but celebrating the top grossing games.
so I think, yeah, we have two places on the female simulation. We are looking to break into the top grossing charts, where usually you don't find, hybrid maybe will spend there a few weeks, but we want to be a permanent resident in the top grossing chart. So this is on one side, because the game there is built bigger in advance. And I think we want to strengthen our position on hybrid, and continue to be a top publisher partner to studios, and also we create ourselves in hybrid in high scale. So we always want to be number one, but let's say top three, we are willing to trade places with. There are such good competitors. I'm willing to trade places with them, every month, every year. So top three is also good. Although we tell the team the goal is top one. So
It gets more fun on top, right? The competition is fierce. All
yes.
right. Well, my last question, Sagi. What will be your one advice for anyone who will start their mobile gaming entrepreneurship today?
To really understand well the market dynamics before they go in. I will explain in 2 sentences. I see a lot of people that they have like this passion or idea. I had so many people catch me on the plane when I was flying or somewhere. I have an idea, and they think that if they have the idea, then it solves like 90% of the, and then the rest is 10%. No, the details in gaming, I think the level of quality, if I compare it to insurtech, whichever. So if I had 80% good implementation and thing, I could build a big company. In gaming, you need to be 95, 98% really great. You need to understand the dynamic between the game and the marketing. The days of if you build it, they will come is long gone. If you build it and you spend a lot of money, maybe they will come. And so you need to understand this really well. So I think if you want to build a gaming company, either you understand all these dynamics, but if you don't, then spend time to really learn what is the curve that your potential game is going to look like. Because a casual game, a hyper game, a hybrid game, they have to totally different graphs. And how will you know if you build the right thing if you don't know what to follow? Which line to follow? It's like going in a huge desert without having any direction. So so have some really really good understanding of what is the line that you need to follow, because otherwise you might have it and you don't know, or you might not be near and you think you are there and you're going to lose all the money. And I see a lot of people that they just say, I think, I guess, maybe, I got some data. I think this is the key. You see companies that have data and they follow it, that their chances, I think, are much better than the ones that don't have.
Well, this is a great advice for the ones who are joining. The entry barrier definitely went up. Finding money, games, the competition is fierce. There's more consolidation with M&A and so on. So the
Yeah.
future is definitely interesting. Sagi, pleasure. Thanks for joining. We learned a lot, and I wish CrazyLabs on the new games and becoming the number one mobile game publisher in the world.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.